Well, we had some rough weather while I was away, and there's a couple of down branches here and there, and I'm going to have to take them down, cut them up, and get them out of the way so I can mow through here. So as you can see, I got my jaw horse is out there and ready to go to hold the branches. I got my Husqvarna saw. I even got a chair over here. If I get a little tired, I can sit down. And of course, I have the gas and I have the cutting oil. So let's get started now. Now the chainsaw made pretty quick work on this branch, cut it up pretty quickly, but you notice that there's still some branches over there that have to be cut up. Now, one of the things I always advise everybody if they're working a chainsaw, don't leave a lot of pieces of wood on the ground like this while you're running your blade, because eventually you're going to step on it and fall, and the last thing you want to do is fall with a running chainsaw. Chainsaws really aren't that dangerous. You just got to pay attention when you're cutting. I think a car is more dangerous. People get distracted, like to do a little sightseeing, and somebody comes along and there's an accident. So remember too, if you're going to cut, try to cut at the end of the chainsaw. In other words, you're going to put this part on the heavy wood, right next, the chain that's closest to the motor. The chain that's closest to the motor, that's where you want to start cutting. And don't cut with full throttle. Start it out slowly to medium, and then you can also accelerate it, and it'll work fine that way. Little branches, right, like the little branches that you see here at the end, I could cut with a chainsaw, but then you accelerate your motor, right, because now when you touch it, it's going to cut real fast. But you don't want to accelerate your motor when you're cutting a big log. Okay, so that's a tip. And another thing is that when you're cutting, remember that if the blade, the tip of this chainsaw hits the ground, your chainsaw is going to get very dull. All those cutting blades are going to get very dull, and the chainsaw really won't be worth too much. Be very difficult to cut. So that's one tip. And try not to cut with the tip of the blade. Now, I do that sometimes when it's close to the ground, and I do it very gently so that I can make the cut all the way through. But chainsaws tend to kick, and if it kicks back, there could be an accident. So as long as you pay attention to what you're doing, you keep your body away from the blade when you're cutting. A chainsaw is a pretty safe object, a pretty safe device to work with. So it just takes, it's labor intensive. That's all I can tell you. Now this is what the Rockwell jaw horse is good for. You don't want to be cutting wood when it's on the ground. So the pieces that are on the ground are a little too thick to just throw on the side, and you want to keep them. You lock them in here in that set of jaws. And the jaws will secure the wood so you can safely cut it. It's not going to go move all around. It holds it very rigidly. And it's a wonderful device for this kind of thing. Good for cleanup work or holding anything. Painting a chair, you lock it in. Here we have some powerful jaws, and it's made just for holding wood. Well, the job's completed. The pathway's not blocked anymore. The little branches, I threw them on the side here, and I'll come back sometime with the truck to pick them up. Either throw them in the middle of the field where I have a big pile there, and then eventually use them as kindling to start my fire, or bring it to the dump. The cart's filled up behind the lawn tractor. I have wood for the fireplace. Some has to be split, some has to be stacked. And of course the jaw horse and the chainsaw, whatever I had brought to do the job with. This will go back to the shed, and I have to start cutting the lawn.